All right. I'd love to welcome you all to this wonderful webinar with my friend Jarret Dove, who I have just been introduced to. Jarret has an amazing story of activation, and I cannot wait for you all to hear the story from him. I'm gonna introduce Jarret. I'm gonna let you tell him a little bit about where he's from and his family, and then I'm going to share some slides with you, and then we will get started in hearing why he is presenting, or why we're having this story presented today. So Jarret, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, and welcome, and thank you so much for taking time for this.
Thank you for having me. I'm 49 years old. I've been married for 27 years. I have 4 children. My oldest is 20. That's my oldest daughter. I have another daughter who's 16. I have a 15-year-old son and an 11-year-old daughter. I live in Anderson, South Carolina. I've been in the same spot basically my whole life. I love the outdoors. Spending time with my family is really high on my priority list. And pretty much just love being outside, love doing stuff with my hands. I'm an electrical foreman for an electrical contractor here in the upstate. I've been in the electrical trade for 30 years plus, and it's a job that I love. I'm very passionate about it. It's also a job that at a certain point in time, with the conditions that I have with my skin and my arthritis, it's kind of taken away from me quickly, unexpectedly. So basically, my story is I was diagnosed with psoriasis around 18 years old. It wasn't very bad. It was, minimal spots on my elbow, maybe the size of a dime, and it would come and go. As I got older, I would say probably in my 30s, it started getting a little worse. I could tell in the wintertime as your skin dries out, it would get worse. And then sometime around my early 40s, I'm going to say around 42, I developed psoriatic arthritis. At first, it was just something I tried to tough out. I would wake up in the mornings, my hands would be swollen, my joints and my hands and fingers. It was starting to become a pretty bad issue. So somewhere around 2.5, 3 years ago, I finally went to my rheumatologist, and their options were shots, pharmaceutical medications, and, assured me that it would take care of everything and I had nothing to worry about. So against my better judgment, because I had gotten to the point where I couldn't do my job anymore. I couldn't work, and couldn't do the things that I love to do with my kids. It was just so taxing on my body. And at that point, I just didn't think that there was another option. So I started on these shots for about 2 years. They did pretty good. It never, ever did it take the arthritis completely away. But it helped curb it to where I could function, but still not able to do the type of work that I'd done my whole life. So around a year and a half ago, I woke up one morning after taking my shot, and my hands and my feet started developing pus pockets and sores on them. And at first, I didn't really know what was going on. So I called my doctor up, and he was like, well, you need to go back to the rheumatologist. I think this is a byproduct of the medicine that you're taking. So fast forward a couple of weeks later, I go to my rheumatologist, and at this point in time, it had really gotten bad. I mean, to the point where, I was struggling to walk. I could still walk at this time, but I was really struggling to do it because my feet were in such bad shape. And of course, she said, well, you've had an allergic reaction to the shots you're taking. And, basically her answer was, you just need to switch to the newest shot we have out. Sometimes you become either immune to what you're taking, or you have, what in your situation, allergic reactions to it. And
Okay,
obviously,
Jarret, would you mind telling them exactly what it was, the shot that you were taking?
yes, ma'am, I was taking Humira. I know everyone's seen it on TV. Um, that's what I was taking, and so her option was, well, you need to switch to Cosentyx. Well, at that point, I had already decided I'm not taking any more shots. And as the weeks and months went on, this just kept getting worse and worse and worse. It got to the point where, not only was my arthritis, taking over, my hands were splitting apart. My feet, as you can see in the picture, were just terrible. Um, I was out of work for about 16 weeks straight. And during that time, I couldn't do anything. I would wake up in the morning and literally have to crawl to my bathtub and soak my feet in the tub for about 30 minutes so it would soften them up enough to where I could just walk to the couch. And that's where I would stay all day long until my family got home. I couldn't, I couldn't get up to go get something to eat. I'd have bottles of water sitting beside me when my wife and kids left for school and work, and pretty much that's where I'd be until they got home. It was a rough patch, really, really hard time in my life. And so, I continued to research and try to find ways that I could, anything but taking this shot. I even went to the Mayo Clinic, which is a highly regarded medical institution, and their answer was the same as everybody else. Just, you need to switch to another shot. So I prayed specifically, that the Lord would send me something natural that had no side effects, that there was no chance of any of this happening. And a couple of days after that, a friend of mine, Darlene Lambert, that I went to school with, messaged me and told me about Kimberly, the lady with LifeVantage. And after thinking about it, mulling it over for a week, I finally reached out to Kimberly, and we had a very lengthy conversation. Um, and she basically explained to me what the products would do, and how they help people with multiple situations. So this lady's a complete stranger to me. I had no idea who she was. I'd never talked to her before, but I just trusted that what she was telling me was the truth. And the one thing that she kept stressing was, you got to give this stuff time. You can't expect a cure, or can't expect any kind of relief overnight, because this didn't happen overnight. It took a long time for my body to get in that bad of a shape. So it's going to take, some time. And she just stressed, you got to give it 6 months. So I signed up as a customer through her and started taking those products. I take the probiotics, NFR1 and the NFR2, and I also take the activated liquid collagen. And around, I'm going to say 3.5 months into this, my arthritis completely disappeared. And this is something that my doctor said there is no cure for. You're never going to get rid of it. The best you can hope for is just to curb it and have a little comfort. But this is always going to be this way. And also that if you don't continue with these shots within a year, you're going to be in a wheelchair, because your joints are going to deteriorate. Your hands are going to be unusable. You're not going to be able to walk. It's going to get bad. So, like I said, around 3.5 months, I could already see that the arthritis part was gone. My skin, not so much. It was still in pretty bad shape.
Jarret,
But yes, ma'am.
you don't mind me and just intervening here just a minute. I really need to make sure that I pour out the disclaimer, because these products are not a guarantee to cure, treat, mitigate anything. It's a proactive approach so that we don't have a reactive response. But I just wanted to make sure that I throw that in there, because everybody is different. And you knew that going into this, that there was no guarantee for this. I loved that Kimberly said you need to give it time, at least 1 month for every 10 years you've been alive. And for me to hear your story, Jarret, I think what is most compelling to me is You're different than most people. You weren't in the microwave mindset of, I'm going to put it in there, it's going to work right away, and I want things overnight. You were patient with the process, and you continued to trust, because you did start seeing relief. As that doctor said, you would never have relief for this, and you did start seeing it. So I just wanted to make sure that people understood that part of it. So go ahead with your 3 months now that we're at 3 months.
Yes, ma'am. So after about, the 3 month mark, I could tell a huge difference. And I mean, I can't say, like you said, that it's cured, but I can tell you that for me personally, it was gone. The arthritis was no longer there. No types of pain in my joints, my hips, my neck. And this was stuff that I was experiencing daily prior to starting the Life Vantage. I was also run over by a car when I was a child. A drunk driver ran over me, and I spent about 8 weeks in the hospital, and it fractured my right hip. Basically, my right hip is, the bottom half of it is in segments, probably 12 or 13 different pieces. It's not even one whole piece of bone. And so I've always had issues with arthritis separate from the psoriatic arthritis in my right hip. And I noticed around month 5 that I didn't have any issues with my hip. It just, the rheumatoid arthritis had disappeared. So around month 6, I started noticing a major change in my hands, my arms, my feet. My body was covered. Probably 60% of my body was covered in psoriasis. They had another term for it. It was not just psoriasis. It was a different type. That was rare, but obviously, my dermatologist would never admit that the Humira shots caused this, but my rheumatologist, she was very upfront with me, and she did tell me that this is what's happened. Those Humira shots have caused this. So I asked the dermatologist, "Is there anything out there natural?" And she was like, "No. The only thing you could hope for is if you could go float in the Dead Sea, that would help." And obviously, that's not an option. So I continued taking the products, and about 7 months in, my skin was just completely changed. I was able to function daily. I went back went back to work. Not in the electrical field. I had a friend of mine who had a rollback business, and so I had actually went to work for him prior to this happening, because it was a lot easier on my body, and the arthritis was just making it difficult to do what I used to do. So fast forward to the summer, I was able to go on vacation with my family, enjoy myself. I'm able to go outside and throw the softball for my 11-year-old daughter, who is very into softball. And there was a point where, I couldn't even go out and pitch to her. I couldn't throw the ball to her. I couldn't hit her a ball. It was really, really rough. Uh, Also, backing up a little bit, last year at this time, right before Christmas, I wasn't able to go to any of my in-laws' functions for Christmas, Thanksgiving. I missed all of that. My family would go and bring me back, leftovers, and I was just stuck. I was stuck on the couch, and you know, it was just an awful time. It was really, really rough, and I'm really thankful that the Lord led me to Kimberly, and now to Sandy, because she's been a really big help getting me on here to tell my story, because I feel like there's people need to hear this. They need to see what's happened. So this past July, I actually went back to work in the electrical field with the same company that I was with before. It's an awesome company. It was like family there. And, as soon as I called them up, they were and spoke with them. They were like, "Man, we want you back. We need you." And we're just glad that, we're just blown away. Just when I went in to talk to them in the office, just shaking hands with them, they were like, "Jarret, I can see a difference. You've got a good grip back. Before it was just like you kind of laid your hand out there and you had no grip. And we've been worried about you for over a year. And I'm here today. It's been I've been back since July. I just finished my first project with them, and I'm up and down ladders all day long. I work with my tools with my guys. I'm not. Our company's not set up where a foreman just kind of stands around and points. We all, pitch in and do our part. And it's just been such a blessing, and it's amazing the results I've seen. And the one key that I would like to stress the most is you have to give it time. You can't just take it in a couple of weeks or 2 months, think, man, this isn't working. Because honestly, on month 5, I was starting to doubt it. But I just knew that I had no other option, and I did not want to go back to big pharma. And I know there's things out there that they have that have helped people and saved lives, but in this situation for me, it was taking my life, um, physically and mentally. And so basically, that's where I'm at. I'm a believer in these products. I take them every day. I will never stop taking them, and I will never stop talking about it to people because it's made such a huge impact in my life.
Well, Jarret, I know that, I mean, these are pictures that you sent me last week of
Yeah,
before, and then the one on the left now, and just said, this is today. And that connection that we made, again, it's very, one of my passions to share hope to people. And you are definitely giving hope to people. You were given a medication, and you had trust in then that for that to help you. It turned around and backfired. And a little bit, I want you to share a little bit about now that things are cleared up. You did tell me that it isn't just activation that people need to be aware of when they've got psoriasis and things. There's other things that lead to it, because you told me you had a little bit of breakout, but you said that might have a little bit to do with choices in what you're eating in your diet. Can you touch on that for me a little bit? Because we need to make sure that we're getting the full range of all the pillars of wellness here.
absolutely. I like many people in this world, there's just no other way to put it, was addicted to sugar. I love Dr. Peppers. I love the little Welch's gummies, Laffy Taffy, anything, any type of candy like that. I was drinking prior to all this, I would drink 5, 6 Dr. Peppers a day. And with talking with Kimberly, she told me, a lot of the stuff that I'm putting into my body is causing these issues. If you take this product and continue to do what you've been doing, you may not see the results you're looking for. So I gave up sugar completely, which was hard to do, but I stuck it out and drank water, flavored water with lemon, got rid of the sugar, the candy, the Dr. Peppers, and I did that for quite some time, and I saw amazing results. And over the last month, I probably 2 months started kind of relapsing a little bit, maybe drink 1 Dr. Pepper a day, and started back eating, maybe 2 packs of gummies here and there. And I noticed quickly that, my skin was starting to dry out. My hands kind of got nowhere near as bad a shape as they were in with the pictures you've seen. But I could definitely tell a difference in what was going on. And so that kind of triggered a switch in my brain again that was like, hey, it's not, there's not a cure-all pill out there for everything. You can't just take something and live the way you want to live. You have to, look at the bigger picture, and what we put in our body, we see it come out.
Our skin is a very good indicator of something going on. So if you have skin issues, there is something that you can't see. I always say it would be very nice if we could unzip from our forehead to our pelvis every day, open up and see how things are going on in there. How are things going in there? But we can't do that. It would be pretty cool if we could. But our skin is going to send signs, our joint pain sends signs that something's not quite right in the way that God made us. And so with the activation that you're talking about, again, we reduce that oxidative stress by a minimum of 40% in 30 days over time, as you have been able to witness yourself,
Yes,
even
ma'am.
more so. But it's that fact that it's happening with every mammal. It's proven that it works to reduce that oxidative stress, which is linked to every disease and condition out there. And so giving that time to reduce that and to be able to bring your body back to its natural state, even better. Processed sugar, processed foods are not natural. They're not from the earth. And so those are going to have an effect on you. And I know I had breast implants. And that's what really intrigued me with your story, Jarret, is because my skin was showing, my face was swollen, my eyes were rashed over. It was awful. And I had kind of quickly gone through that picture here. That's why I said I want to know his story, because I've been in that state of desperation and I needed some hope. And I was the same way. I'm like, until you tell me what is causing this, the root cause of all of this, what's happening to me with the migraines and such, I don't want to take your medicine, because I don't need a Band-Aid. I need to fix this. And so I just feel that connection with you. I know what it feels like to be desperate, but also say they're telling you one thing and they get into your mind of, if I don't do this, I'm going to die. Basically, even your sister-in-law was skeptical and said, you've got to get a handle on this. And the only thing that you can do is a pharmaceutical drug, because they don't know what they don't know.
Exactly. And fast forward to the day now, she believes in what's happening. She sees it, and she tells me, and in fact, I went back to my rheumatologist just because I wanted her to see the progress I'd made, and I wanted to hear her reaction to what was going on. So about 3 months ago, I had a scheduled follow-up appointment with her, because I would keep going back during all this time. I kept going back and seeing my rheumatologist, and she kept trying to push me back on taking those shots. And I kept telling her, it's not going to happen. And so when everything was cleared up and I felt like, my joints were all great, and I went back in there, this was probably in July. She was blown away. She was like, Jarret, I don't know what to say. Your joints feel the best they felt prior to you coming here, better than when you got here. You don't have no swelling in your joints. Your skin is cleared up. She's like, I'll just be straight honest with you. You don't need to come back to me anymore. And I was like, well, don't you want to know, what I'm taking? And she was like, well, yeah, between you and I, that would be great for you to tell me. But outside of this room, that doesn't matter. I can't sell that product. And that really, really discouraged me, and kind of lit a fire in me to want to tell other people about it. Because these doctors, they know what they've been trained, and that's it. And their minds are shut to alternative medications and supplements and all natural things that God put on this earth, that will make a big difference in your life.
Yeah. The pharmacy I like to visit is God's pharmacy for sure. And so and I know that you feel the same way. Again, I just cannot believe, in as bad a shape as you were in, because you were, and it was scary, that you still did not cave and just say, I've got to go back to what people are telling me. Because honestly, Jarret, if you were to do that, where would you be right now? If we think about it really. Now, you had shared with me that last year you didn't get to go hunting, that you actually watched your son. You didn't get to go by him. You sat in the pickup while your son was hunting. And I know how much your family means to you. I don't know, not known you very long, but I do. And I understand that. To not be able to participate in that, and to see for your kids to have to see you the way they were and wonder, are we ever going to have our dad back? There were no guarantees out there for anything, but share a little bit of that.
Yeah, my son, he races go-karts, and that's something that we do just about every weekend. And we travel a lot with the team that he races with. And last year, that was just pretty much brought to a halt. I mean, I tried to go a couple of times, and it was just so miserable. I couldn't stand up long enough to watch him race, and it just it impacted his life. And then, like I said, with my 11-year-old daughter, she just got into softball a couple of years ago, and she's extremely talented at it, and she's very passionate about it. And just every day come home from school wanting to practice, hit the ball to her, and it's just something I couldn't do. I couldn't do it. I could not get up and walk outside and throw a softball, or much less take a bat and hit balls to her. And, you know, I watched them every day come in and look at me like they were looking at an alien. Like, are you, I remember specifically my daughter, my 11-year-old, you know, crying to my wife and saying, Mama, is he going to die? Is dad going to die? Because he doesn't look good. It's because my feet, you know, they were swollen up twice the size of what they normally, I couldn't put a boot on. And then, you know, thankfully God blessed me with an awesome wife. I couldn't have handpicked one any better because through all this, she stuck by my side. She took on a lot of the chores here at home that I normally had done, and you know, just being there for them. I was nothing. I was devoted. You know, I had been uh basically, I felt like I just didn't exist other than to sit and breathe. And that's, you know, that's a hard thing to deal with, but my faith is strong and her faith was strong and we prayed a lot and I just stuck to what Kimberly told me to do. And, you know, here I am today. And just
Well, it's just such a testament to your entire family. And yes, that caregiver, I can't imagine how hard it was on your wife, and what a blessing, what a saint.
yes,
And for all of you. Now, what really has struck me though, Jarret, is that was a long time for you to have to suffer. But there are people out there who's continue to suffer for years,
mm,
and just think that there's nothing better out there because we're going to give you the next thing when this one stopped. And so I just admire the strength and the courage and the faith in the Lord that you had, that something out there was going to help you. You also told me that that you've been on another pharmaceutical drug for most of your life. You want to share about that?
yes, ma'am. When I was 6 years old, I was diagnosed with ADHD. They put me on Ritalin, and I was on some type of stimulant for ADD from the time I was 6 up until about 2 years ago. When COVID came out, uh, my doctor, like all doctors, stopped seeing patients and started doing Zooms and over the phone meetings. And so it got back to the point where they were starting to see patients again. And at this point, he had put me on Adderall for my attention deficit disorder. And, you know, I struggled at work with, you know, I tried to get off of it during that, I would say somewhere around 35. I tried to stop taking it, but the amount of responsibility I had at work and the amount of things that you got to get done and keep up with, I just struggled really, really hard, really bad with it. So I got back on the Adderall, and like I said, I was taking it up through COVID. And then once it kind of, they started seeing people again, once they came out with the vaccines, my doctor actually would not see me in his office because I refused to get vaccinated. And so he was like, well, look, you got to have this medicine. You can't just stop cold turkey. It will affect you. And I said, well, you just said the one thing that you shouldn't say to me, and that's you can't do something. I said, not just because of me, because, you know, I serve a God that's greater than all of us. And I know that he can get me through this. And I stopped that day cold turkey. And fast forward to all the issues I was having during my talks with Kimberly, you know, I was telling her about that medication, and I often wondered if that might have had some of the reason why I had psoriasis. Just, I don't know, I think out of the box sometimes. And during that, she was like, well, listen, you know, Life Vanish has a great product. It's all natural. And I know tons of people who've gotten their kids off ADD medicine. So, and it's the Axio product. It's just a simple drink. I pour it in a bottle of water, shake it up every morning, drink it, and I'm telling you, it's better than what I was taking through the pharmaceutical industry, because there's no crash at the end of the day. Um, there's no rush at the beginning of it where you get jittery and your stomach feels like, honestly, I feel like the pharmaceuticals is eating the line of my stomach out once you took it in the morning. And, you know, I've had great success with that. My son was taking it for a while. He's a honor student in high school. He was on medication for ADD, and he didn't like the way it made him feel at the end of the afternoon. He could tell, and my wife as well. She's a school teacher and been a teacher for 23 years, and so she's seen a lot of kids come through with that with those issues. And she was telling me, I'm just tired of when he gets in the car, he's like a zombie. He's not the same kid anymore. And, he started taking it and immediately he saw results. So it's been a game changer as well.
Well, tell us a little bit about this picture.
Well, that was, I think, 2 Sundays ago. I normally don't hunt on Sundays, but I had a deer that my son had killed the weekend before or 2 weeks prior, and the processor called me and asked me could we come pick it up, that they were running out of space. And so I kind of used that as an excuse to take off down there, and went hunting this past 2 Sundays ago, and was able to harvest this nice deer and put some meat in the freezer. Because we do, we don't just kill animals to be killing them. We anything that we harvest, we eat here at this house. So, it really brought me to tears because, as I was going to retrieve the deer, I stopped and I was by myself. My son, he hunts on a standby, on his own too. And I was like, I couldn't do this last year. This was taken from me, and I'm very passionate about being outdoors. I not only do I hunt, I go down there. We have 1,300 acres that we have leased that we hunt on. And I also, when deer season's not in, I go down there and pick up arrowheads. I probably found over 300 in the last 10 years. And so I really, really love looking for artifacts, not just Indian artifacts, but I've found horseshoes. I've found pennies from the 1800s. I found the silver button that I believe was from the Revolutionary War. And I just enjoy being out in God's creation and just sucking it all in and taking it in and just enjoying that, And that's something I couldn't do last year at all.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, Jarret, I feel so incredibly blessed to know you. You are such a genuine human being. And, you were desperate. You put it out there on Facebook. There are people out there who don't know where to go. And so for me, I believe our products need voices. I mean, everybody has a story out there. And I'm glad that you're going to be a voice behind our products, because you today have provided hope and probably clicked a little thing in somebody's mind that said, wow, I know somebody who really needs this, which would be, in my opinion, everybody. My grandchildren are activated. I mean, it's that important to me. I've been through chemotherapy. I've been bald. I know what all that does. And I'm not saying there's not a place for medicine. I'm not, or, there was chemotherapy probably saved my life. But knowing what I know now and the things to be able to build up your body to get it back to as close to his natural state as it was when we were born. Why wouldn't we want to do that, Jarret? And you would want to never see your children go through what you went through. And I feel the same way. If I can help that, if we can just get rid of that oxidative stress and everything that we're exposed to now, all of this new stuff in the world that wasn't here, that didn't exist years ago, it's nice, the conveniences, but it's causing very many health issues. This right now, being on this Zoom, this is the MFs, there's a lot out there, but if we can help that by activating those cells in our bodies to perform and upregulate and downregulate what they need to do, we are just in for a much better life, I feel. And so in closing, Jarret, if you were to give anybody advice, again, you were desperate, you were looking, people might look at this, it costs a lot, but your health is your wealth, honestly. And you either pay for your wellness or you pay for your illness. One day you'll have to pay for your illness. So I know that it was hard for you to come up with, how are we going to pay for this? But your faith and everything brought it. You knew that you needed it. People do have the opportunity to share the products to help pay for their products. I know that's what you're going to do, but even on a grander scale, it can become even more to where you're affecting more people and allowing that to happen. So give us just a brief summary of, where you were a year ago to where you are now and why you would never look back.
I would just say that I guess my faith, in knowing that there was something else out there other than the pharmaceutical stuff, um, pushed me towards this, to Life Advantage. And at first I was because I take 4 different things, uh, you know, the price was never really an issue with me. Not that I have that, that I'm by any means rich. I just knew that I couldn't afford not to do it. If it did what Kimberly said it was going to do, um, I couldn't afford not to do it. So my wife and I talked about it, and we prayed about it, and she was like, "You know what, Jarret, we'll figure it out. God's never let us down before, and He's not going to start now, and we'll make a way to do it. But you've got to try this." And so having her, having my back like that was really really nice. Uh, to know that I didn't have to stress over, well, we're spending X amount of money every month. One thing I'd like to add, it's sad because my wife is a school teacher, and we probably have the best insurance you can get, health insurance. I mean, I've talked to people in every industry, even my sister-in-law, who's a registered nurse. She doesn't have near as good as insurance as school teachers in the state of South Carolina have. And we're really blessed to have that. But that shot that I was taking every week was $8,000 a shot, is what my insurance was paying for that. And so when I started this, I contacted my insurance company, and I was like, "Look, I found something that works, and this is what it cost." And they were like, we can't pay for that. They would rather spend $3,200 a month than $350 a month. And so at that point, I was just like, I'm gonna just bite the bullet, suck it up, and do it. But basically, I don't want to sound cliche, but Life Advantage has given me my life back. I had no life at one point. I was deteriorating quickly. And, fast forward a year later, and I feel as good as I felt in the last 15 years. I've also was having issues with my vision. It was starting to get blurry. I thought I just needed readers because, I am almost 50. But even watching TV at night, it was hurting my eyes. They were very sensitive to the light. Um, and that's gone. I have no issues with that. I also had struggles with acid reflux. My whole life, my doctors have had me on Zantac or Prilosec every single day of my life. And I think over the last year, I've probably taken 5 Prilosec, and that was self-induced by what I eat. So, basically, watch what you put in your body, and, take care of yourself.
Yeah. You're either feeding your wellness or you're feeding your illness with the foods we put in our bodies. So,
Exactly.
well, Jarret, I can't thank you enough for taking the time out of your day to share your story, to bless so many people. It's going to be a story that's told for years to come. And we are so fortunate to have your voice behind these products. And I know that if you're watching, someone brought you to this webinar to watch. Please get back with that person who brought you here and find out how you can get started. There's many, many opportunities. And we are just hopeful that, again, there's something out there that needs to be told. I'd never heard of this. Jarret had never heard of this. There's people that have no idea that there's something that could help them beyond what they ever imagined. So Jarret, bless you. Thank you. I look so forward to being connected with you. And I'm so glad that Kimberly convinced you, and you were willing enough to reach out to Kimberly to have that conversation, because look where you are today. And we're also grateful. And so as this Thanksgiving nears, because that's when we recorded this, Thanksgiving is next week, we are so thankful that
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Jarret.
Thank you. I appreciate all you've done.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.